Have you ever noticed that a negative comment will stay with you all day long? Whereas somebody can say something positive, and sometimes we remember it and sometimes we don't. But that negative, we remember that. That's called the negativity bias. Negativity bias is a tendency for us to only register negative comments or negative stimuli and to not only register it, but to dwell on it. And I should say only, what I should say is to give the negativity more dominance over positive things. I'll give you an example. Ever been in a situation where you were talking to an individual and maybe you discussed five things, and four of the five things you discussed with that person were positive, but then the fifth thing was negative? Sometimes we can find ourselves in a situation where we will just think about that negative thing. And maybe we're telling somebody that Kimmy said that I talk too loud. And the person who you're telling this to says, well, why did she say that? Were you guys talking about anything else? No, not really. She just said I talk too loud. We were talking about how I articulate my words when I'm speaking in public and how my writing skills were exceptional and how she really enjoys the way I tell stories and how she enjoys the way that I engage my audiences. And so the person will say, well, it sounds like she said more positive things to you than negative things. And so then you say, but yeah, she said that I talk too loud. That's negativity bias. How do we get negativity bias? Negativity bias, some of the researchers feel we have it and we keep it because it was a way and is a way that keeps us safe. Some of the research suggests that as humans, we tend to learn more from negative things than we do positive things, that we tend to cue into negative things more than we do positive things, and we tend to allow negative things to stay with us longer than positive things. So let me give you an example of learning from something negative as opposed to something positive. We remember as a child that our mom would tell us, do not touch a certain thing. It's hot. It's going to burn you. Some of us hard headed. I remember growing up, I used to hear the older people say, a hard head makes a soft behind. And many of us have had hard heads. So instead of listening to our parent or whoever as it relates to warning us about not touching this hot whatever, we touch it, we get burned. That's negative. That negative experience will preclude most of us, right? Most of us, because some of us are going to touch it again. Let's just keep real. But it precludes most of us, or at least make most of us think about touching that hot thing again, because we remember the negative experience of touching it and getting burned. Many of us do not even remember that we were told prior to touching it that we were going to get burned. That was a positive. So, the reason why it's important to understand negativity bias is because it can tether us to past events that we need to move on from. It is not to say that things that occur to us, our past experiences, negative, positive, what have you, do not deserve time for us to think about them and maybe learn some lessons from them. With all of the things that we have going on today in society, there's a lot of negative stuff. And the negative stuff can be so overwhelming. But what I want to remind you is that there is so many positive things going on too. I want us to balance how we see things. Yes, there are negative things happening. Some of it we cannot control, but there's so many positive things happening. Much of it we may not be able to control, but we can enjoy it. I want to give you another example of a negative bias. When I was in retail, We were taught that when a customer receives bad customer service, they'll tell 7 people. In researching for this particular video, I found that is no longer the case. According to a customer service website, people, when they receive bad customer service, they will tell 20 people. And I'm thinking that that probably has a lot to do with social media. People can talk to more people at once than they could back in the 80s when I was in retail. So they tell 20 people. How many people you think they tell when they have good customer service? Probably not many, if they tell anybody at all. People tend to share negative news. They tend to react to negative situations differently, and they tend to hold them to their chest for a longer period of time. That same article that I was reading about customer service, once a person receives bad customer service or perceives that he or she received bad customer service, it takes a total of 12 positive customer service interactions to cancel out that one negative event. It takes 12. That goes to show you how powerful the negative bias is. How can we overcome or let go of the negative bias? One of the things that we can do is to create a physical and or a psychological or emotional distance between whatever it is that was said, whatever it is that upset us. We can do that. It's something that we may have to practice and we may have to get some help on it, maybe a therapist or what have you. The other thing that we can do is to concentrate on our own work. That means to focus on ourselves, on things that we can do to get past this negative thing that was said to us, this negative thing that was done to us, this hurtful thing, this painful thing, and learn whatever lesson we need to learn. And to kind of think about the things that we are grateful for. So, for example, I know of a situation where this particular person did not get an opportunity that they wanted. And the person was pretty disappointed about it, obviously. But the person looked at the positive. Because this person did not get this opportunity, the person was encouraged to pick up another activity that she had been thinking of for a while. Had this person gotten this one opportunity, it would have prevented her from picking up this other opportunity. So that's a way of thinking about things positively and being grateful. We cannot always control what's happening around the world, and we can't always control what's happening in our very environments. We can control how we respond to it. We can make sure that we are practicing self awareness and that we ourselves challenge any negative self talk. Understanding that, hey, I didn't like what was said, I didn't like what was done, but making sure that it doesn't overtake our entire day, it doesn't overshadow all the good things that's happening in our lives. Another thing we can do is pray. Lord, help me. I'm feeling some kind of way. I need some help in this area. I need A, B, C, and D. I have to pray because a lot of times I just want to say certain things. I'm doing this video, but it's also for me too. I am talking to myself. I'm learning from my own videos because I haven't 100% arrived either. I'm still learning. I'm still developing. I'm still growing. I'm not perfect. Okay. And I'm definitely not a psychiatrist. I'm not a therapist, I'm not any of those things, but I do benefit from sessions with my therapist, and they've been very helpful for me. So that's another thing that we can do to manage the negative bias. The other thing we can do is to savor the positive moments. What's happening that's positive? I get it. When that negative thing is said or done, it's like a big shadow. It just takes over everything sometimes, depending on what it is. And sometimes we can't shake that thing. But thinking about those positive things, like going back to the conversation that the person was letting somebody else know that they had with another person. Person actually said four good things, four positive things. They said the one negative thing, talk too loud. But if we flip the script and restructure things and really examine the conversation from an objective standpoint, which is hard when you're involved in a conversation because we always bring ourselves to the conversation and we experience things and see things based on our past. If we were to look at the conversation, the example I gave earlier, there were four positive things that were said. So we're talking about 80% of that conversation was positive. Now, the negative thing is something that we feel some kind of way about it. Maybe at a later time, we might want to look at it and say, hey, is any part of this true? Do I talk too loud? Now, if the person said it to me, I had to say, yeah, I talk loud. I always have talked loud. It wouldn't bother me because it's true. I want to leave you with this quote. I don't remember who said it, but the quote says, we cannot control the waves, but we can learn to surf. Learn to surf. My challenge to you is what has happened this week or since you've watched this video that you didn't like, something that was said or done, and maybe you're spending a bit too much time ruminating over it. What can you do so that you can move on? How can you untether yourself from that thing? Will surfing help? All right. I want to thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. It really helps me out. It helps the video to get out into the YouTube algorithm. If you know somebody who can benefit from this video, please share it. If you have not done so already, please subscribe to the channel. Really, really appreciate you stopping by. Thank you so much, and God bless you.